Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. Before you know it, I found myself 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. Took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People think there's some secret. Ask me, how'd you lose that weight? Like there's some secret. There is no secret. How'd I lose the weight? Just one word, discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends, colleagues convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission: how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision: growth through learning from others. Well, you're from the Northeast.
I am.
How deep is that part of your personality, part of your soul?
Well, in my perspective, it's not.
It's not at all.
But to everyone else, it seems to be a big part of who I am.
Because you're around like people, and when you travel out of it, it seems a little bit.
Well,
of
I got an
water.
interesting story about that. My whole career, I would travel 80s, 90s, and wherever I went in the world. And actually, I traveled mostly in the U.S. early. People go, oh, you're from New York.
Right.
Oh, you're from New York. And then around 2001, 2002, as I'm traveling around for work, people would be like, oh, you're from Jersey. You're from New Jersey. And I'm like, where is this coming from? Well, in 2001, guess what came out? The Sopranos.
Yes.
And they were a mafia based in New Jersey.
Yes, they were.
And prior to that, mafia was based in New York. So Len DiCostanzo, a stereotypical Italian mafia guy from New York until the Sopranos showed up. So it's in me, and I guess it's based on TV, Joe.
I get the same thing.
Yeah.
I get the same thing.
Yeah, you're in the mafia, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. You're Italian. You're from the New York, so you must. Yeah. Yeah. And does it help or hurt now?
It's never hurt me, I don't believe.
Right.
And oftentimes, like as kind of we expanded our business, maybe in my career, and we would go international, I would hear folks say, "Oh, it's so different. It's so different." Well, in 2015, I came on stage in Amsterdam at an event.
Really?
And they played The Godfather. So it's not that different.
Yeah.
It doesn't really affect, and if anything, sometimes I'll use it, I don't say to my advantage, but to get interest and get people going, like, how you doing?
Right, forget about it, yeah.
And, when I want them to sell my product, I'm like, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse, and I'll get a few laughs, and people remember it, so...
Yeah. You lean into it a little bit.
Yeah, it travels well.
Yeah, it definitely does. We're here at GrowCon, Marketopia, St. Pete, early December. What are some of your goals here? You're just on stage. You did a great job up there.
Yeah, we just did a session on how MSPs can take advantage of MDF offered by their vendors. That was fun. Rob Ray did a great job moderating. Had a lot of fun. Dana, Brian, and who else was up there? John.
Right.
So I also had a couple of sessions, so I'm here presented to MSPs because I've done a lot of work with MSPs in my career, coached probably, thousands of MSPs that actually be an MSP, and now I actually consult with vendors on going to market with channel partners, and I've got a couple of sessions I've done today talking to vendors on how to build a great world-class partner program and help their partners grow.
You mentioned MDF, Market Development Funds.
Yes.
And what is an MDF?
So market development funds, if you're a vendor and you have a product or a service that you're trying to sell through your MSPs, you want to recruit that MSP into your partner program. And one of the benefits of them joining your program is a line item called market development funds are available. And perhaps it's a number, 500, 1,000. Maybe it's a number that's defined based on a marketing activity you're going to deliver on for the vendor. Bring your clients in, tell them about, say, my new backup product or my new security product. So MDF is about vendors providing money to their partners. And the way I like to talk to my vendor clients about it is you really want your partners to attack their client base first. So kind of directed marketing development funds, like the market you want to develop first for your partners because it's the quickest route to revenue for both of you is through their client base because it's easier to sell to them. So maybe after they do that and start engaging and they're activating and they're selling, maybe you'll give them MDF to develop another market of new business, maybe a particular vertical or maybe a targeted like a vertical or just kind of broad shot at prospects. So it's really to get your partner started. But it's a lot different. I think people get confused sometimes because MDF is to get them going, market development funds. But if your partners are growing and selling your stuff, there should be also another component of support you give them. Hey, you just grew X percent. How about I give you Y percent in co-op marketing funds because you're really becoming a strategic partner for us. So let's go out and, by the way, are we online here? Are we talking? Are we on our conversation,
No,
Joe?
nothing's being recorded at all. And so what's the difference between an MDF and co-op?
Co-op is typically earned, right? So if you're a partner working with a vendor and you're having success, you know.
I see.
I feel like I'm talking like we're recording.
And when I talk to MSPs, Len, they suffer the biggest thing. Three things keep them up at night. I find in the last 3 or 4 years: security. They're worried about the clients clicking on something. Human capital is the second. How they're going to replace techs? How they're going to get new techs? It's a competitive market out there. And then third is just growth. How are they going to grow either organically or M&A has turned the industry kind of upside down. And they're all concerned about that. But growth, you see a lot of these MSPs who don't know what to do with MDF, who don't know how to market and sales. They're generally tech-led, and they need help here.
Yeah.
How does MDF help?
Well, that's actually one of the reasons you do sessions like this, because most of the owners or MSPs are tech-oriented, and they're not really the best.
Right.
At marketing and sales. So, it's not always just money. Right? Maybe it's resource. Maybe you'll send a speaker to an event. So part of market development funds is educating your partners that's there, educating them on the type of activities they can execute. And if they don't know how to do it, maybe part of your partner program, you have a marketing automation platform you've made available to them. Maybe you have some template emails that you can provide them and take their client list and show them how to bring it into the marketing automation platform and help them market and drive attendance, because as a vendor, that MSP is an extension of your sales team. They are your partner. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. So how do you help them as a vendor? Money and resources. And I think that's, again, really important for the vendor to recognize, can the partner actually do it on their own? And what else do you give them besides money?
Because a lot of the MSPs, they feel organic growth is just referral, and they base all their growth, and a lot of them do very well with it. But to do organic growth, you've got to create real marketing campaigns.
Yeah, if you want organic growth and you think it's just going to happen, it's probably not. It definitely isn't, in fact. And if you're a referral business, think about, I think the most stressful time for any MSP is when they lose one client that they've had for 15 years. And I went through this, and I was an MSP before it was called MSP, and I remember my largest client getting acquired.
Right.
And in fact, I had built such a great relationship that they called me in, it was like day before New Year's. They said, "Len, I need you to come in the office." And he's like, "Look, we're being acquired. And they got an IT department. So bring me a contract next week and I'll sign a 2-year contract."
Wow.
So have relationships with your clients, because you're going to lose them. And then referral business isn't growing you. So if you want to keep your clients and retain them, make sure that you have a relationship with them in times like that. But today's day, you have to be marketing. And actually, sometimes I like to say, before you market and grow your business, how operationally mature are you as an MSP? Can you actually handle 2 or 3 new clients. And will your marketing efforts be successful only for you to fail in the sales process or in the deployment and support? So make sure you're ready for the growth you may experience. Be ready to, if you don't want to invest first because you don't trust yourself, make sure you're ready to grow, because that's really key.
Why did you leave the MSP?
My MSP,
Yeah.
I sold it. So I built my MSP. I started 1984.
Woo!
And I sold my business in 2001. I probably started in 1983, but I think I incorporated around 84. Left my corporate job after college working with AT&T, and this thing called a PC came out, Joe. Single
What's
floppy.
it like?
It's like a single floppy PC. I used to write FoxPro code on my single floppy PC and sell it to businesses and write custom code. And then this thing called a hard drive came out, and networks, and here we are today.
Microsoft bought FoxPro, and then they just who bought FoxPro?
No, FoxPro there was DBase,
Right.
and then
I remember
FoxPro
DBase.
was a clone
Right.
of
Remember
DBase.
Clipper and
Clipper,
Yeah.
and those were back in the days where they were kind of the first kind of high level
Sure.
programming languages.
Yeah.
And I think I moved from DBase 3 to FoxPro because you could compile the code
FoxPro
and it would
compiled.
run faster.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
I remember converting FoxPro databases to web
Yeah, well,
eventually.
yeah, ultimately, I was a DOS programmer, DOS World, and this thing called Windows came out, and I
Changed everything.
Changed everything. And I remember my development days were numbered when my client, who I had written this awesome DOS-based, FoxPro CRM essentially, said, "Hey, Len, can I get the Windows version of you?" I'm like, "Yeah, for $100,000. Yeah, I'll write you a Windows version." Like, I just changed from WordPerfect DOS to WordPerfect Windows for $1,200. What do you mean $100,000?
They
so
don't get it.
they
don't get
it was
it.
it's been some interesting evolutions I've lived through firsthand.
Your advice to MSPs right now is what?
Oh, I think my message always to MSPs, kind of like I just mentioned, is, make sure you're running an operationally mature business.
Right.
I mean, I think a lot of MSPs, is a catch-all term these days.
Yeah, it is.
Right? Like, are you an MSP? Are you automated? Do you have the right tools in your MSP Toolkit? Which is actually how my company domain started, MSP Toolkit. I was originally training MSPs on, what you need to do to be an MSP. And now I focus more on vendors who want to be in that MSP Toolkit. So I kind of use both sides of that. But yeah, just be operationally mature, ready to grow. And if you're operationally mature, you can handle a couple more clients before you have to hire more people. And before you hire more people, maybe you can partner with a third party who can do something for you. Like a lot of vendors I work with or I see out there, they do it for you. But they do it for you so that you can learn how to do it for yourself. And that's how I kind of teach my vendors to work with their MSPs is, show them how to do it. And then they can do it themselves. But be operationally mature, be ready to grow. And I think most everyone sees this M&A craze, Joe, and if you're operationally mature, even if you're not growing and you're really profitable, you have a shot to either acquire or be acquired a little easier.
Yeah, it's very true. And so do you recommend EOS, Traction, like these kinds of operating systems for the MSPs?
Let's put it this way. I'm a best practice guy, but, I remember reading about an ITIL best practice in the 90s.
ITIL, yeah.
And I read about it, and I started looking into it, and I became certified, and I realized that's what I'm doing already, right? So best practices typically mean it's been done. It's just packaged up really nice. So I'm not against any particular approach to become an operationally mature, financially independent. Just do something and, realize what it's for, right? If you're If you want to become operationally mature, then do this. If you want to run a better service delivery, do that, like ITIL or something. So, yeah, no, I don't advocate or recommend. Heck, I remember just being in a peer group. There was nothing there other than other MSPs going, here's what's working for me, here's what's working for me. How do you bottle that up? You just join a peer group and learn from your peers. So there's many ways to get better at being an MSP, and find the one that you want to work with.
How do you have the difficult conversation with a vendor, especially if they have no experience with MSPs and they say stupid things, Len, like, let me talk to your client, or, let me educate you on how to run your business. I mean, when I hear vendors say these kinds of things, it's just...
Well, first off, I think vendors really, a lot of them don't know what an MSP is. Right?
They think sometimes they do.
They think they do because, the best coaches that I see are ones that have done it. Like for me, I did it for 20 years, and I worked for 20 years with MSPs all over the world. So I've seen what works, I've seen what doesn't. So even though I could advise most of MSPs, I'm still listening to them and what they're doing, and being a consultant, Joe. You really shouldn't be telling anyone what to do unless you have the info. And then when you're telling them what to do, you're advising them, hey, I've seen this work, I've seen that work. And it may not work for them. The whole point of a best practice is you shape it for how you can utilize it, right? Like ITIL, service management, or incident management. There's a process, but how many people are in the process, how much automation's in the process, it's all up to you, right? So, find a best practice, work with it, mold it to how you do it. And I think if a vendor's trying to tell you what to do, hopefully they're a really smart vendor, or it's someone like Rob Ray or me or you or somebody who has actually done it. And I think it holds a lot more weight. And so, I think vendors just need to be more empathetic. Have to know what an MSP is about and listen, learn themselves, tell them, I've got these other partners and here's how they're being successful, as opposed to telling them what to do, obviously. But I don't know, what used to bug me about a vendor when I was in my business was they'd come in and go, sell my stuff.
Right.
What do you mean sell my stuff? Well, they'd come in and say, tell me about your business, meaning they didn't know what my business, because they just hired them off the street, and I lost my rep, and that is a new guy, and he wants to learn. It's like, I just hope vendors make sure they're training their own folks on the life of an MSP before they send them out to shows like GrowCon.
Yeah, I seldom give advice too, Len. If somebody asks me, I say, well, here's a situation that happened to me that's kind of similar, and here's what I learned and didn't learn. But giving advice is really, that's a tough one.
I'm trying to, I was going to say an analogy, but I don't know if it's a right analogy, but I have a great son. Love my boy.
Going to be a grandfather soon.
But am I to tell somebody, you got to have a kid?
Right.
How could I tell someone that? I could just tell them, I've had a great experience and, enriched my life.
Right.
You can't tell someone.
No.
So
always different.
I don't know what your experience was and who you heard, Joe, but I would have been like, why are you telling that guy what to do? You know what could blow up in your own face? A coach coaches.
Yeah, coaches.
A coach coaches, and the student, the learner has to learn and do it the best way for them.
I get to talk to some coaches. I get to talk to some therapists, and they tell me the difference is a therapist goes back in time, a coach goes forward.
I like that.
Big difference.
Yeah. Therapist wants to know why you're messed up.
That's right. Why we're there.
A coach wants to fix you. I love it.
That's right. Yeah. Has there been anything in the last month or so, Len, 6 weeks, 4 weeks, that you changed your mind on?
You're answering these cool questions. Well, I was going to retire last month, and then I changed my mind.
I saw that. We talked about that in Orlando, yeah.
No, I wasn't going to retire. I was going to semi-retire.
Yeah.
No, I mean...
I think you changed your mind on.
I think I changed my mind, believe it or not, Joe, on will I move south to a warm weather location, and just spent a month down in the Panhandle over in Inlet Beach, Rosemary Beach, Alice Beach, and it was so nice for a month. Like, I think I changed my mind. Actually, I changed it a couple of ways. One was, if I came south, I was going on the East Coast. I want beach, I want ocean.
Florida.
But after seeing the Gulf, and the sand is amazing, and it's quiet, calm, play a little pickleball, play a little golf. Yeah, so I changed my mind that I would consider the Panhandle area for sure.
I made that move this year. Yeah, I was snowbirding here for a while, and
You're here, St. Petersburg?
I'm here, Tampa.
Tampa.
Yeah. I enjoy it. You know, like yourself, I want to play. The winters were just tougher and tougher. But you've got see, my daughters are out. They're across the country, so it's very different for me. So when I started my MSP, I don't think I told you this, Len. In the '90s, I wasn't paying attention to myself. I got myself up to 340 pounds. Did I ever tell you this? 340.
It's kind of coming back, but
46-inch waist. The doctor says to me, if I don't lose the weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. She was yelling at me. So I'm driving home, punching the steering wheel. You know, look what I did to myself. So I spent the next 6-7 months, lost 130 pounds, and I kept it off. You can't look at it as a finishing line, right? You got to kind of
look like you lost more than that over the
Well,
years.
I feel good. There's always room for improvement. But people always ask me, what's your secret? And there's no secret, Len. How I lost it is discipline. Right? I got willpower, routine, and how does discipline play a role in your life?
Well, first off, I just noticed you have a really good book coming out,
Yeah,
Discipline
in the spring.
Greatness, and it sounds like that's kind of what you're covering. But, yeah, I mean, much like yourself, I won't say I hit 340, but 2001, I went to the Super Bowl, Giants, Ravens.
Whoa.
And it was a time when you had the little StarTAC mobile phones, you know, and they were always on your belt. And I remember going to the Super Bowl, and actually before going to the Super Bowl, I'm in the hotel, the Dolphin Hotel, with my buddy, and he says, you want to go work out? I was like, nah, we just went out last night. I'm not going to work out now. And that day we go to the Super Bowl. The elevators, the escalators were broke, packed, whatever. So we walked up the stairs to get to our seats. When I got up the stairs, I went to get to my phone, and it wasn't on my belt.
Shit.
And I then sprinted down the stairs to see if I could find it. And I came to the conclusion I fatted my phone off my belt.
Wow.
Right? I was about 250. And that was 2001. Late January, early February, and I was so angry, and I was just a big guy. And from that day, when I got back, over the next 6 months, I went from 250 to 195.
Wow.
And it was discipline, Joe. I had a couple of rules I followed that I still follow today. Some for the thumb.
I never heard of this.
Never heard that. No, everybody asked what diet I went on. I said the Lenny diet.
Huh.
And it was just discipline. I would take a hamburger or a sandwich and leave some bread for the thumb on the bottom so I didn't dirty my fingers. And I would slowly pull the edges of the bread off the bottom of the bread. And by the time I got through with the burger or the sandwich, there'd be a pile of bread in my plate. It was on it when I started, but now it's in my plate. And I was full.
Wow.
And you're never going to eat that bread. Now, I still left the top. I'm not a bread snob.
Sure.
I love bread, and I still eat bread. But
Me too.
some for the thumb. And then eat half was another one. You go out to eat, I would eat everything. And I started to eat half, take half home. So, and that discipline, I was down to one. In fact, I even think I hit 190.
Wow, good for you.
But now I'm about 208, and I've maintained it now for many years.
Yeah, you've always looked
discipline is key.
It really is.
And it's good not only for yourself, Joe, but I'm sure people look at you now and go, Joe, you look great. Joe, perception.
Not enough.
Yeah, well, you look great, Joe. From 340 to 205. I like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good for yourself, and it's good to, for people to recognize. So be an example, Joe.
I guess so, yeah.
It's an example.
Yeah, Len, so great talking to you today. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks. We were recorded that whole time.
I like
thought
that.
It was a conversation.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.